This is another thing that the article doesn't mention, of course, and I think this is something that should be mentioned in the article. I am fully in support of a universal basic income, but I think that universal basic income should be coupled with a national jobs program. So I think everyone should get a salary from the government, universal basic income from the government, no strings attached. On top of that, I would like to see the government, like it did in the past during the New Deal, give a jobs guarantee as well. Do a jobs program. Anyone who wants a job, come on in, we'll give you a job. Well, where are you going to make all these jobs up? You can't just make jobs up out of thin air. That's when I suggest to you, maybe we could replace the thousands of lead pipes in this country, the millions of lead pipes in this country poisoning our cities. Maybe we can rebuild the thousands of bridges that are collapsing across our country. Maybe we could repave all these highways that are completely crumbling. Maybe we could rebuild all these seaports that are dated, like 100 years old. Maybe we could rebuild all these airports that are extremely dated. The list goes on and on. There's a million things to do in this country. Maybe we rebuild all these schools, right? We build some public housing. There's a million things we could be doing with a jobs program. I think that anyone who suggests a UBI and doesn't mention a jobs program or something similar to that, you should be very wary of. Because the jobs program is not only putting money in the pockets of the working class and giving them a job and a purpose and a direction, but it's also rebalancing the playing field between corporations and workers, because government jobs can come along with good pay and good benefits. And then the private sector is then forced to compete with these public sector jobs that have good salaries and good benefits. And guess what? Then they have to offer good jobs with good salaries and good benefits. Now maybe you can understand why a jobs program is not so popular with our Congress, because they are all corporate puppets. Let's talk about universal basic income. Yet another study shows how beneficial it can be. This is out of The Atlantic. Stockton's basic income experiment pays off. A new study of the city's program that sent cash to struggling individuals finds dramatic changes. This is back from March of 2021, by the way. 2 years ago, the city of Stockton, California did something remarkable. It brought back welfare. Using donated funds, the industrial city on the edge of the Bay Area tech economy launched a small demonstration program, sending payments of $500 a month to 125 randomly selected individuals living in neighborhoods which average incomes lower than the city's median of $46,000 a year. The recipients were allowed to spend the money however they saw fit, and they were not obligated to complete any drug tests, interviews, means or assets tests, or work requirements. They just got the money, no strings attached. These kinds of cash transfers are a common, highly effective method of poverty alleviation used all over the world, in low-income and high-income countries, in rural areas and cities, and particularly for households with children, but not in the United States. The U.S. spends less of its GDP on what are known as family benefits than any other country in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Basically, the U.S. is the richest country on earth, and out of all the developed countries on earth, we spend less than anyone else on taking care of our needy people. The Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program spends less than 1/5 of its budget on direct cash aid, and its funding has been stuck at the same dollar amount since 1996, when the Clinton administration teamed up with congressional Republicans to turn into a compulsory work program. These changes sliced into the safety net, allowing millions of people to fall through. The reason why we don't have programs like this is because we used to, and they're all gone because of the Clintons. Thank you, Bill Clinton. Most adults without children have no program to help them keep gas in the car and a roof over their head, no matter how poor they are. Most families with kids don't have one either. In the United States, poverty is used as a cudgel to get people to work. We got rid of welfare for poor families and poor individuals' own good, the argument goes. Give people money and they stop working. They become dependent on welfare. They never sort out the problems in their life. The best route out of poverty is a hand up, not a handout. Right? The old Republican trope / neoliberal trope. Many liberals believe this, believe me. I mean, Bill Clinton's the one who destroyed welfare. They just told you in the article. Stockton has now proved this false. An exclusive new analysis of data from the demonstration project shows that the lack of resources is its own miserable trap. The best way to get people out of poverty is to just get them out of poverty. The best way to offer families more resources is to just offer them more resources. Wow, who would have known? The best way to remove hunger from the world is to feed people. The best way to remove homelessness is to build houses and give them to people. Wow. Shocking. The researchers at Stacia Martin West of the University of Tennessee and Amy Castro Baker of the University of Pennsylvania collected and analyzed data from individuals who received $500 a month and from individuals who did not. Some of their findings are obvious. The cash transferred reduced income volatility. For one, households getting the cash saw their month-to-month earnings fluctuate 46% versus the control group's 68%. The families receiving the $500 a month tended to spend the money on essentials, including food, home goods, utilities, and gas. Less than 1% went to cigarettes and alcohol. The cash also doubled the household's capacity to pay unexpected bills and allowed recipients' families to pay down their debts. Individuals getting the cash were also better able to help their families and friends, providing financial stability to the broader community. I mean, how many of you used your stimulus checks for good? I'm sure a lot of people did. A lot of people paid down debt. A lot of people paid down their credit cards. A lot of people were able to buy necessities that they have been needing for a long time. So the money helps. It let me pay off some credit cards that I had been living off of because my household income wasn't large enough, one recipient told them. It helped me to be able to take care of my groceries without having to run to the food bank 3 times a month. It was very helpful. During the study, Laura also experienced a spell of homelessness when the apartment building she was living in had a fire. The Stockton cash helped her secure a new apartment, ensuring that she could afford movers and a security deposit. Now, here's the important part. The research also found that the guaranteed income did not dissuade participants from working, adding to a large body of evidence showing that cash benefits do not dramatically shrink the labor force and in some cases help people work by giving them the ability they need to find and take a new job. In the Stockton study, the share of participants with a full-time job rose 12 percentage points versus 5 percentage points in the control group. In an interview, Martin West and Castro Baker suggested that the money created capacity for goal setting, risk-taking, and personal development. No shit. The big change was how it helped me see myself. Thomas Vargas, another recipient, told me, I was dead positive. I'm an entrepreneur. I think of business ideas. I make business choices. I want to be financially stable. When the program started, he worked in logistics. Now, in addition to nurturing his side projects, he is a case manager for individuals on parole. He noted that receiving the money had made him more civically and politically engaged, if also more infuriated at the country's scorn towards low-income households. It's like it's a big game, he said. These people are living with a silver spoon talking, but how about you walk this life? Have you ever even seen it? So that's hinting at something that I don't think this article is really hinting at. He noted that receiving the money had made him more civically and politically engaged. One of the reasons why workers are paid so little in this country and overworked so much in this country is so you will not be politically engaged. It's so you will not be more civically engaged because you don't have the time or the resources to do those things. It's another way they prevent organizing of the working class. Finally, the cash recipients were healthier, happier, and less anxious than their counterparts in the control group. Cash is a better way to cure some forms of depression and anxiety than Prozac, said Michael Tubbs, a former mayor of Stockton who spearheaded the project. So many of the illnesses we see in our community are a result of toxic stress and elevated cortisol levels and anxiety, directly attributed to income volatility and not having enough to cover your basic necessities. That's true in the public health crisis we're in now. More work, less destitution, more family stability, less strained social networks, less stress, fewer incidences of homelessness, fewer skipped meals. This is what welfare could give the country. So this portion of the article is funny to me because here comes the bullshit propaganda trying to paint the Democrats in some sort of light that's positive. Here we go. And it just might. America's welfare politics have shifted radically of late, in part because of the economic pressures felt by millennials, the first generation in recent U.S. history likely to end up poorer than their parents. So the American dream is dead, right? Millennials realize that. We're going to live with a less of a standard of living than our parents. Two once-in-a-lifetime recessions, persistent wage stagnation, wild wealth and income inequality, the student debt crisis, housing shortages, and the broader cost of living crisis have made redistributive policies much more palatable to them, and they're now the country's largest voting bloc. The pandemic has shifted U.S. welfare politics too, emphasizing the need for child care benefits and demonstrating the power of cash at stimulus. So this article is written like during the height of COVID, stimulus, the child tax credit, all that stuff happening that were positive things. Too bad time proved how all those things were swept aside because the oligarchs that run this nation knew that these programs were actually beneficial to the working class and that hurts their interest. Right now, Democrats are pushing to send low and middle income parents $300 a month for child younger than 6 and $250 a month for children 6 to 18 as part of President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package. The program would be temporary, but there is wide support for making blah, blah, blah. So, spoiler alert, Joe Biden transferred the largest amount of wealth to the 1%. The child tax credit was destroyed and welfare is nowhere to be seen. But the Stockton study and other programs demonstrate time and time again that universal basic income, that welfare, is a benefit, is a net benefit to the workers of this economy. It is a net benefit to our economy as a whole. It increases the velocity of the dollar. It allows the circulation of money to become quicker. You don't want money to stagnate. You don't want it to pool.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils? Huh?